Welcome to Between Both Cheeks, the podcast where we talk business, beauty, and butts. We'll be stripping down the aesthetics industry, whether you're here for spicy beauty tips, savvy business advice, or just a little banter. We've got you covered from front to back. So pull up a cheek and get ready to discover what happens between both cheeks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Between Both Cheeks. I've got a special guest with me here today, Marnie from Thigh Society. She is a female-owned entrepreneur, Canadian entrepreneur. I stalked her social media and finally, she reached out back to me and we were able to connect that way. Marnie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've only been trying to do it for how long now?
Probably half the year, easily.
At least. Marnie, I love your products. I think they're amazing. I'm super excited, especially with the one with a little pocket on the side. We'll get into that a little bit more. But tell our listeners about your company. What is it? How did you start it?
So great. Thigh Society. At Thigh Society, we make long leg boxer briefs for women, basically. They're more elevated than boxer briefs, though. They are an alternative to tight shapewear or men's boxer briefs or bike shorts or any other base layer or underlayer that you might throw on underneath your skirts and dresses to help eliminate sweat or chafe or any of the mostly sweaty things that happen down there. And I started the company in 2008, launched in 2009. But in 2008, I was a sweaty woman who could not wear skirts and dresses without my trusty bike shorts underneath. And I honestly just got fed up with throwing my Nike black thick bike shorts, having to wear an underwear with them underneath all of my skirts and dresses when I wanted to walk in the summertime because I'm a big walker. And so you would think that women's underwear would come in longer lengths for those of us who have super sweaty thighs like yours truly. I mean, I'm the woman who gets like literal drops of sweat coming down my thighs. So all of the deodorant hacks and all that stuff are very tricky. What was invented back in 2008 and available then never worked for me. And I was, frustrated at having to wear double layer when I really just wanted to go bare-legged. That was the ultimate goal. Go bare-legged with a skirt and dress. And I couldn't. And I was shocked that I couldn't find anything on the market. All I could find for women was shapewear. And we could have a whole separate podcast on shapewear. I'm not against it per se, but I have like 2 outfits in my whole wardrobe where I will wear shapewear. And I can promise you those outfits are not the ones I'm going to throw on when it's 30 degrees outside or 100 degrees if I convert it to your US audience. They're the last thing I want to put on. They're tight, they're hot, they're sweaty. You can't put them on. You can't go to the bathroom. You have to take them off.
Exactly.
The whole nightmare. And so, between that choice and then men's underwear, which at the time were not really made to be performance, they weren't necessarily wicking, seamless, breathable. Plus they had extra fabric where I didn't want extra fabric. Again, the goal was to go bare-legged, but better. So couldn't find anything. And at that point in my life, I was a little bored in my career at that point. I had a career in more of a corporate environment with some government, but like very, in an office. We won't spend time on that. I was bored and needed a challenge. And I thought, you know what? If I need this product, chances are women do too. And so I spent the better part of a year prototyping, researching, focus grouping, trying to figure out if other women were like me, who had this issue. And something I didn't talk about yet, but was core to my motivation was the idea that when I would ask women if they suffered from thigh chafing, most of the time their reaction was yes. Not all the time, not everyone gets it. But the majority of the time, women were really embarrassed about it. And, they were like, oh, I've put on some weight, or, if they were pregnant, I put on pregnancy weight gain and I have chafe, and I just was like, you know what? I don't think this is a problem that's really related to weight. Like, have you had this your whole life? Like I have. And once I started opening the conversation floodgates, if you will, or the floodgates were open, women started sharing with me that, of all shapes and sizes, women who are size 0 or 2, who experience thigh chafe, and women who are size 22, who, by the way, I met a lot of women who were size 18, 22, who did never experience thigh chafe. Their skin was just, super resilient and resistant to the rash that can happen when your thighs rub together in the presence of a lot of friction and moisture. And I thought, I'm really tired of the culture that we live in, telling women constantly to change our bodies, shrink our bodies, buy this, do this in order to make your body more acceptable in society and more beautiful. And I just wanted a solution that would let me have wardrobe freedom. I just wanted to live my life in the body that I was in. I didn't want to have to be inwardly focused on my shapewear or my underwear. I wanted to be fully present in the conversations I was having. And I just didn't understand why these underwear didn't exist. So that was the genesis of Thigh Society. We've been size inclusive since day one. We've come a long way in the last 16 years. We sell currently almost exclusively online. We are in about 24 wholesalers across Canada, but our strategy has really been to focus on making our products known, making our solution-focused long leg underwear known to women who want a solution to all of those down there sweaty problems.
Yeah.
Right. They're lightweight. They're seamless. They're breathable. They can cool your skin temperature down by 1 degree. They stretch like crazy. They're so comfortable. We have a lot of customers who even sleep in our products.
Yeah.
Right. Who tell us at the end of the day, I fell asleep in them. I forgot I was wearing them when I took them off at the end of the day, which is the biggest compliment. People wear them to, Pilates, for long walks, hiking. We have products that range from sheer to fully opaque. And we really stuck in our lane. We really are a slip short company. We'd like to say slip shorts because we're like not your grandmother's slip, and we're not a bike short. Whereas if a slip short and a bike short had a baby.
I love that. That's a great way to describe. You need to trademark that. Have you trademarked that?
Well, no, because slip short is one of those general terminologies that we really trademark, but we are leading the pack in getting this underwear category, more known to women, because for a lot of women today, they don't even know this category exists. They think it's either shapewear or boxer briefs. So usually, like I did at the beginning of this call, I cut right into boxer briefs because we all can have a vision of what that's sort of like.
Yeah. And your products are nothing like that. They're like butter. They are smooth.
Yeah.
I just finished a podcast with a dancer. And one of the things that I love about your product is you have the slip short that has the little pocket.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share with you that I'm obsessed with those, because when I go dancing at these festivals and these socials, like sometimes you don't want to leave your bag and your phone everywhere. So you can just like hike up your little skirt, your shorts, your dress, whatever you're in. You can put your girl, I feel like a Secret Service agent. I do. I got like this
trademark. That is a quote. That's a quote.
Yeah, I do. Because it's like I've got everything there. I feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
But it's like it's right there. Plus I'm getting all of the benefits of like not getting any like chafing between the thighs. Because I'm not a small girl either. Like I've always had that situation, right?
Totally. And I mean, we like to say that we're the first women's underwear with a pocket. I mean, we all get it. Most women's clothing isn't made with a pocket. And all of our shorties are made with a cotton crotch, so you don't need to double up with an underwear. And to your point, like the cargos are not see-through, so you can grab that phone and not worry about flashing anyone.
Exactly.
Have the convenience of having it by your side.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
I'm glad.
Now, you mentioned 15 years you've been doing this.
An overnight success.
Oh, yeah, easily, of course. Of course. Famous words from everyone, right?
Right.
Right. So you went through the recession.
Yeah.
You went through COVID.
Yeah.
What else? I feel like there was like one other big thing in there.
2025. I mean,
basically another recession that no one wants to talk about. How did you pivot? How did you stay strong? Walk me through that, because this is not easy. And this is the stuff that people don't talk about. And this is also when businesses fail and people give up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fair. Honestly, I don't think I would say that we ever pivoted. We were an online company from the get-go. We were direct to consumer. And, we were a bit lucky in the sense of the pandemic, lucky and unlucky. Unlucky because our goods were severely delayed coming out of China during those early days of COVID. Lucky in the sense that people couldn't do anything other than go out for walks, and they still wanted to wear their fun summer dresses and do all the outdoor things and throw on, shorts and get their body moving. But I will say, like through all of it in the last 15 years, I would say focus has kept us on track. And I think it's really easy as entrepreneurs, no matter what type of business you run, to get really distracted by the newest shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
I call it shiny object syndrome, because you hear from another founder. We're always networking. What are you trying? What are you trying? It can it can get easy to be distracted. And someone I used to work with said you can only do three things really well at one time. And I think she got that from a book, and I'm sorry, guilty. I don't know the book she got it from, but it made a lot of sense, right? Because if you're doing I'd rather do three things really well than 10 things poorly, or only
Totally.
two things So I think about, staying focused. For us, we've also really stayed committed to product, to making sure that for us, we are delivering the best possible product for our customers. We can't be everything to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but we know, and I set out from the beginning to be the world's number one slip short, because I was customer number one. And I was like, if someone can invent something better, like I'll close out my business and I'll buy their product.
Right.
Right. And here we are still standing because, we feel that we have superior products on the market to what's available. And we've built trust with our customers who come back to shop with us when we launch new products, which, still stay, within the lower body half sweaty solutions category. But, our products have longevity, they last, and our customers know it. So staying focused, staying committed to producing products that are solving problems that our customers need,
Mm-hmm.
and remembering that our customer is at the core of everything we do, and listening to her in terms of what we develop moving forward, I would say is how we've weathered some storms.
I love that. I love that. Like that part is so important to me, right? With like the customer side of it. We actually send out surveys to our customers at the end of the year talking about like, what do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? What, like, if you wanted Bryght to develop a product, what would be the next product? That's how I came up with the sunscreen. People said, hey, we need a sunscreen.
Amazing.
So, we did what the people, so I love that your company does the same thing, and that you listen to the customer, because so many businesses are so detached.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot reach a human anymore. There's no phone number to reach a human,
Yep.
or it's some virtual assistant that is responding back to your emails. And one thing that I always tell our customers is, if we come after like an event or a show or something, is please be patient with my team. We all need to get home. We need to get sorted. We need to ship out, or like, you need to give us that grace in getting back to you, but a human will be getting back to you.
That's really great. I have to say, we do use a little bit of AI sometimes in our customer interactions, but we're very careful about it, because it's really important that our customers feel that they're talking to a human, even if they're not. And I'm talking about very transaction-based emails, like, my tracking link isn't working, where's my order?
Right, of course.
And usually they get, escalated to a human, if they can't be solved with a simple ask back and forth. So there are ways to make our human work more effective and efficient with AI. But at the end of the day, remembering that, to your customer, that issue that they're having is the most important challenge they're having at the moment.
100%.
That's taking the time out of their day to reach out to you. So I think respecting that, acknowledging that, and meeting your customer where they're at, however you choose to do that, is really key. And I don't know if you got customer feedback on your body wash or your face cloths, but I'm obsessed with those. So I love them.
Yay. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Thank you. You talked about, your previous life, and it was corporate, yes?
It was, corporate, academia, and government.
So what made you leave that? Because that's a safety net. Girl, that is a safety net.
I left a lot of secure jobs and pensions behind.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So walk us through when that came, that you just said enough is enough and I'm going to do this now.
Yep. I had really two points in my career, which these would be pivot points, in the sense of me pivoting from very secure jobs into the uncertainty that is entrepreneurship. The first time was I had done a 2-year stint at the government of Ontario. And that summer was the summer I realized, there has to be a better way than me wearing these Nike bike shorts every single, under every skirt and dress. And I was pleased with the work I had accomplished in my 2 years there. I was hired as an experienced hire, having come from a consulting gig. And I felt for me, the government wasn't a true fit for where I was at that time. It was just not as fast paced as I wanted to be working. And ultimately, I decided after 2 years there of questioning where I could see myself growing my career, that ultimately it wasn't a fit. So I knew I was going to leave. And the timing coincided with me thinking of this idea for Thigh Society. So, it was all of those factors that led me to take, at the time, I didn't know it would be 6 months off. At the time, it was this open road of, let me learn everything I can about underwear manufacturing, e-commerce, marketing, retail, like completely. I had not had any experience before that. I was a strategic HR change management consulting and workforce planning, like zero, zero connection to anything I would be doing with Thigh Society. So that time did afford me, meetings during the day, going to check out fabric importers, because at the time when I started, we were not making our own fabric, which we are now. Meeting local manufacturers. We were manufacturing domestically for our first 10 years. We aren't anymore. So it did afford me some of that luxury. I think I still could have done it working full time. But I do advise when I'm coaching and mentoring people who have business ideas, if you do have a full-time job that's stable and you have some flexibility, it's great to try to keep that steady income as long as you can before you get the business off the ground. So it took me about 6 months before I realized that, it's going to take me another 6 months to launch the website and to really get this thing going. And I kind of, I was in my early 30s at the time. I'm like, I kind of like getting a salary. I like getting paid. And I don't know if I have enough work right now to keep me busy for 40 hours a week. So I ultimately decided to go back into the workforce, also doing a career pivot and shift. I was fortunate to have a former colleague from my corporate career who was working at the University of Toronto at the Rotman School of Management. And they knew I had worked in consulting. They knew I had gone into consulting via the campus recruiting process. And they said, we need an MBA career coach. Do you think you could coach MBAs who are interested in, pursuing a career in consulting and doing a career change? And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds like fun. And I thought it would be a 2-year stint while I was getting Thigh Society off the ground. Well, that turned out to be 8 years. And
oh my God.
Yeah, it turned out to be 8 years for a combination of reasons. One is I was really able to still work on Thigh Society on the side, and I was still getting my paycheck. And I found the job really fulfilling. I was helping students who were investing a lot of money and time into changing their careers, and watching them soar and watching them get their dream jobs, it was really, really satisfying for me on a personal level. And I'd say ultimately that reached a head after about 7-8 years, where I thought to myself, okay, I'm coaching all of these students on career change. I've been steadily growing Thigh Society while working full time. What about a career change for me? I've done this before. I'm at this point, I was also turning 40, which I know, age milestones can be, can push us to reflect and consider what are the things we want. And at this point I thought, well, I already have 3 solid careers in corporate, academia, and government. I'm pretty marketable. And I had gone for some job interviews just to prove to myself that I could get some job offers. And with that knowledge in hand, I decided to quit my full-time secure pension job at the university, second time quitting a pension job. And then I went all in on Thigh Society. And at that point, I was not quite a solopreneur. I was evolving a little bit. I'd hired an agency partner. I'd had a mentor that started working with me very fractionally on, as a fractional CFO, but super, super fractional. I'd hired someone who's a graduate of a social media studies program to help with social media. And that sort of was the beginning of me taking this seriously as a business. Right.
Do you have any regrets in not leaving corporate sooner, or are you happy with the way everything worked out?
I'm not really one who harps on regrets. So I would say I think we land in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
My one regret is not being a little more bullish about online advertising sooner. So I was a little bit afraid to put some money behind digital marketing.
So are you talking like Google, Meta, all of that?
Yeah, Google and Meta. And I wish I had been more in the know even prior to 2015, because, people were, making hay while the sun was shining on Meta. There was, humongous ROAS, return on ad spends that people were seeing in the early days of Meta. And I was just really afraid. I was, we're bootstrapped. We're still bootstrapped 17 years later. And I was really afraid of losing money. And I wish if I had had a little bit more belief in the product category we were building, maybe we would have scaled faster. But I let I let a little bit of imposter syndrome influence me, and fear of taking risks, and let other people's opinions, sort of guide me with fear rather than guiding with intuition.
Right.
So,
I love that. 'Cause I'm a huge believer in like listening to your gut, and I would
yeah,
say that's your best friend, and we suppress her the most.
totally.
What's your relationship with Google Meta ads now? How? Because
We're really
I'm asking this for personal reasons.
Yeah, we are really tight. We're in a really tight, committed, long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Unfortunately or fortunately, Meta just, look at all of us. If I would survey anyone listening to this podcast right now, I would be willing to bet money that all of us are scrolling our phones mindlessly at some point during the day. Maybe it's as we try to fall asleep, maybe it's first thing in the morning, but we are all consumers of products on the internet. Where, all of us have been caught looking at an ad or just product discovery, finding out about something we didn't know existed, and we shop online, and so why should that be any different for those of us that are selling products or services? So, we do spend money on online advertising. We also invest, heavily in growing our email database, because our customer is in our ecosystem. We can market to her and share with her all the amazing, incredible ways she didn't realize that she could wear her shorts for her, her underlayers for all of these different reasons and occasions. And so, yeah, I think in this day and age, it's really hard to not pay for online advertising. I think the media spins a lot of, fun stories that are really cool to watch products and services go viral and brands go viral overnight. But those are like unicorns. Like, do they exist? Like, like that's not how you can't build a business on that.
No, and it's short term. I mean, we went viral a few times in 2020. It was a
Yeah.
beautiful influx of cash
Mhm.
immediately. Were
Yeah.
we ever able to recreate that? No. And if we tried to spend the time to figure out what made that happen, like
Mm.
I've tried to figure it out. We tried to reproduce it. It's literally like you said. It's a unicorn. It's the
It's
luck
like
of the
lightning
draw.
strikes. It's like lightning strikes. You go viral.
Yeah.
It's very hard to make lightning
Yes.
strike twice.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Um,
Even once. We haven't had that.
right. Agency or no agency when it comes to running ads?
I would say freelancer. Neither.
Oh, okay. I love this.
Yeah. I think it's really hard given the pace of change that exists with, the meta algorithm. It's really impossible to try to keep up with that. And, wouldn't you rather hire someone that spends their days like day in and day out, every single hour of every day with a few different clients, potentially, studying what's working in other accounts, looking at your accounts,
100%.
having that main point of contact. So for me, the issue with agencies has always been too many levels and too many cooks in the kitchen, not really understanding if, everyone's on the same page, and a little bit of like bloated. It always felt very bloated to me, the teams I worked with on agency side, because believe me, we've made mistakes. I've made mistakes with agencies and hiring
Me
the
too,
meta
girl.
agencies who take a percentage of spend and, or percentage of revenue. They're incentivized to spend more. I mean, find yourself a hungry freelancer who grew up in an agency, who got their training at an
Yeah.
agency, but who now wants, a little, maybe she's a stay-at-home mom. Maybe she wants to get some extra work while she's, raising her kids. You don't necessarily need somebody full time, and you can probably find someone, and I made one narrow, assumption there. There could be someone overseas. You can find any freelancer anywhere, but try to find someone with some experience, and then you're better off building a relationship with them. That's what we did.
I love that. I think that is going to be so valuable. If you guys take anything from this podcast, I think that part is so valuable. I too made major mistakes hiring agencies. I would even say, even in the hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah,
with
listen, us too.
agencies.
It happens. It
Yeah.
happens. It happens, and
Yeah.
just learn from our mistakes, right? And try.
Yeah. 100%. And
Yeah.
now the person that runs my ads, I actually danced bachata with him in Thailand.
Oh wow, that's
And he
amazing.
now works for me. How wild is that?
The trust
Right? Like,
factor needs to be high. The trust factor is high.
it's wild. And it's funny because he actually reached out to a personal post that I did on my personal social. I was so frustrated with Meta and Google's and stuff. And I said, looking for a software engineer, no agencies that can help me get my shop back. So my whole story, it's a big, long story. I won't get into it, but I wasn't able to sell anything on social media on Meta or Google on Meta for the entire being of my company. So they had banned us from selling. I never had a shop button up until a few months ago.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, we've had issues like with that, with getting banned too, because of imagery, right? If
Yes.
we show some
Yep.
butt crack because we want to show the differences of sheerness against the
Yeah.
butt, it's been flagged. And yeah,
Yep.
the
So girl, you can only imagine what
only
mine.
imagine.
Yes, exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've got, I was going to say, what, I lost my train of thought. We talked about
Turn my light on here. It's getting dark.
getting out our ad spend. We talked about leaving your corporate job. Let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable. How big is your team? What does your team look like on the back end?
So my team on the back end is comprised of all part-time freelance contractors, which blows people's mind when I
Yep.
tell them. And I this was baked into how I wanted to start and grow this company. It was largely influenced by my time spent as a consultant, where you parachuted, you know, subject matter experts into businesses to troubleshoot, to ask questions, to solve problems. And when I was starting the business, because I was bootstrapped, I didn't necessarily want to hire junior people that would necessitate hiring HR and making sure that everybody had a very clear career path. I really wanted to like get down to business right away. I wanted to hire experts who, were operating in their zone of genius. Maybe they were, passionate about email. They were passionate about Meta, then known as Facebook ads. They were passionate social media people. So I started off also believing that it was possible to build a culture of remote workers. And this was in 2009, and largely influenced again by my early days working at Accenture, at a large consulting firm where they were pioneering remote work back in, before Y2K, for those of your listeners that remember that.
Yeah.
So I'm Gen X. And so I was intentional in building a team that, I may have been willing to pay my freelance contractors a little more than I would have had to pay junior people, but I didn't have to train them. And I also knew that I didn't have to manage their career because they were self-sufficient. They had other clients. They were learning from other clients that were also, D2C brands. And, I've never been one to care when you get your job done, just get it done. Like, I don't care where you're working from. So, as time went on, certain freelancers would recommend their friends and people they knew from their network. And, standing here today, most of my freelancers have been with us for about 5 years. So freelance doesn't have to mean temporary. You can build loyalty with your freelancers. So I think it's really about figuring out what you want. You want your business to be able to work for you, not the other way around, and figure out what works best for you. For me, I've always thrived working from home. I'm in my home office right now. I'd been working from home very early in my career before COVID forced everybody to work remotely. I knew this model could work, and this felt like the right fit for me. So our team right now is 25 to 29 or so part-time remote freelancers, some of whom are a little more on the brand than others, but yeah.
I think that's important to talk about because I think people look at both of our companies as these massive companies, these huge corporate structures. And at the end of the day, we're a very small team. We're a very, very small team, and everyone wears a lot of hats. And I think, people need to recognize that when, customers are reaching out or emailing or, expecting the world, like from a Procter and Gamble level, L'Oreal level, when, we're just a small guy on the block trying to make it work.
Right. But what? I will say this. We treat our customers as if we put our customers first. And we've put processes in place over time to make sure that our customers are serviced no matter what.
100%. Us
because,
too.
Again, it's, how important word of mouth is, and one bad experience that someone has, they tell their friends, or they post on social, and we never want that, right? We want our customer to feel that we're looking after her. But it's always hard, right? People don't understand that sometimes there's faces behind the screen.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
We're real people over here.
Yeah. One of our commandments in the company, one of my company pillars is everybody's story matters.
Yeah.
So it's something that we talk about, that, even if we do get, a rude DM or an email or a voicemail, we don't know what the customer was going through that day.
100%.
We don't know. So let's not open with the same attitude. No. If it continues, that's a whole other conversation.
Exactly.
But everyone's story matters.
Yeah.
I know I only have you for a short time left here. I promised you 30 minutes and we're getting
No
close to the
problem.
time.
I love
I hear you keep saying her when you refer to your customer.
it. Yep.
Any plans to introduce him as a customer?
I think eventually, right? But I think it speaks to something I mentioned earlier in our chat, is that you can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've even scratched the surface yet. Until Thigh Society is synonymous with slip shorts the way Spanx is synonymous with shapewear, we still have a huge market to untap with women who don't know about us yet before we tackle the men. So it's certainly, it's always in there. It's always somewhere on our roadmap, but it keeps getting pushed ahead when we think about how much opportunity we still have to introduce our, problem solving shorties to women and people who identify as women, and maybe people who don't identify it with a gender, because quite frankly, our shorties are genderless. There's nothing about them that makes them or her. Yeah.
I love that. Marnie, thank you so much for doing this podcast with me. I know this was a long time coming, so thank you for carving out the time out of your day. For those of you that are wondering how they can purchase, where they can find you, can you please give us all the details?
Yes. So you can follow Thigh Society everywhere on socials at Thigh Society. That's like High Society with the T in front of it. It's a little play on High Society.
Love that.
At Thigh Society. And you can follow me I'm most active on LinkedIn, I would say, although I've been a bit delinquent in the last couple of weeks, but I'm actually quite active on LinkedIn, less so on Instagram, but our Thigh Society Instagram is quite, you'll find stuff there always.
Perfect. And they can purchase on your website?
Sorry, yes, if you're good point. Bad CEO. If you're in Canada, I mean, either way, you'll get directed to the right site, but we're at thighsociety.com. And if you're shopping in Canada, you can go straight to thighsociety.ca. But US and international is our .com. Canadian is .ca.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you again for joining us, you guys. And until next week.